and a few others up that way that provide very good regulation for their own jurisdictions and for their own governments. That's an oversight.
Thank you, Rod. Everyone knows that junkets play a very important role in gaming in Macau. The percentage of VIP gaming revenue has decreased recently, but it used to be around 75%, now is 60+%. My question is, Herman, is there, in your view, a role for junkets in the iGaming business? Or on the contrary, since you eliminate somehow the middleman, will they not be able to be part of the development of this industry?
I mean, it's a really interesting question, because I think the amount of VIP play and junket play that's taking place in Macau obviously is completely different than in most other countries and jurisdictions around the world. But taking that in consideration, taking the fact that the junketeers are often much more than just the provider of, let's say, or the easy provider of money, or the easy provider of, let's say, facilitating, funds transfers and making sure that they can go cross-border, etc. They are actually, very much their, their companion, their buddy, their friends group. They're part of, let's say, an internal circle where a junketeer often will tell a player, like, are you sure that you want to continue? Shouldn't you be stopping, etc., etc. So the player and the junketeer build up a very in-depth relationship. I believe that that relationship can be greatly extended in the online space, and to a certain degree, affiliate managers are doing that. Obviously, it's in most countries not very sophisticated, but that's also because of software purposes. I think that's all going to change. I think that we will see a lot of, today you have Facebook, okay? 10 years from now, I predict that Facebook has approximately hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of competitors in smaller Facebooks. Why? Because we don't necessarily want to share everything to the whole world. We want to share everything in smaller groups. I believe that affiliate managers, junket managers will use these type of tools in order to build up smaller groups and to become much more effective, in which they actually, work their customers much harder and better with more personalized services that actually are going to promote quite a bit of, let's say, this type of attitude, towards gaming that's going to be really beneficial for, let's say, the environment, the gaming industry.
Here's the issue that's going to be faced with junkets. Junkets is obviously it's extremely important here in Macau. It is of no significance whatsoever in the U.S., for example. Yet, some of the major players that are developing a presence in the iGaming world have their primary base in the U.S. and are regulated by a bunch of U.S. regulators. So as they get into the internet world and they start dealing with junkets as part of the internet players, all the regulators in the West are going to say, okay, who are you doing business with? And they're going to want transparency. And so it's going to force the junkets to develop a strong transparency approach. And that will be a challenge, I suspect, for a while. It'll ultimately occur, but the regulators in the U.S. are going to want to know who the companies are doing business with. And so that will be a challenge. I think it will be overcome because junkets play such a significant role here in Asia, but it is going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a transparency challenge.
Sorry, there's no doubt about that, but that transparency is going to be absolutely to the benefit of, let's say, most governments, because of the fact that suddenly that transparency creates an enormous outlet of potentially taxable, sources, as well as that, the Chinese are going to travel the world, guys. I mean, we're already seeing it today, but we've seen nothing yet. I mean, if you look today, just on the lottery side in China, only 8% is playing. 8% of the Chinese people play the lottery. This is an unheard number. In the UK, it's already 57%. In Hong Kong, it's 68%. So the amount of growth that we're going to go through is massive, and this is actually going to be really beneficial.
One of the questions I'm asked more when I'm requested to opine on Macau iGaming laws is what is the relevant connection with a certain jurisdiction that will trigger the regulator's interest on that operation? I mean, is it hosting the servers? Is it operators' advertising, marketing efforts? What does make online gaming presence in a certain jurisdiction to become subject to that jurisdiction?
The online presence, of course, is the tricky one in terms of the internet and where the activity is taking place. Some jurisdictions require physical presence within the jurisdiction, all technology being hosted in that jurisdiction, which enables closer control. In terms of our own jurisdiction, we have split server arrangements, so equipment can be hosted in the cloud, but still with a certain presence on the island. One of the things that all our operators are required to do is to have sign-off as to where they're marketing or advertising their product. And they can't operate in certain areas unless it's been approved by the authority. And if under our audits we find that they are operating out of certain areas, that will trigger our interest, as you put it. And then there's discussions are held with the operators as to where they wish to go, not physically. So yes, that's how we approach it in terms of triggering interest in a jurisdiction. But we also work very closely with other jurisdictions so that there's a reasonable amount of information sharing between relevant jurisdictions as to what's going on in this world.
Well, as Rod mentioned, one of the things that we're running into is a lot of jurisdictions want to have the servers located in their jurisdiction. And there's got to be, that has to be resolved, because you just literally, from a business perspective, it just isn't possible to have servers in every single jurisdiction where you're engaging in the internet activities. So